I never really even saw myself leaving Phoenix. It was my new home away from home. I have a great off-court situation. I've built a lot of fun relationships out there. And yeah, I was like, hey, like, what do we need? No, come on, how do you get out here? But it's funny now that, you know, I told the people upstairs, I was like, I will be her Sabrina Carpenter any day to her Taylor Swift.
Sophie Cunningham is officially teaming up with Caitlin Clark. And let's be honest, this is the duo Fever fans have been begging for. But while Indiana is celebrating their new enforcer, one person is somewhere punching the air, NaLyssa Smith. That's right, Smith and her partner-in-pettiness, Dijonai Carrington, just got shipped off to Dallas like a return package nobody wanted. Smith talked a big game, but it turns out her toxic energy was dragging the Fever down like an anchor. And now, she's gone. Packed up and sent away while Sophie Cunningham steps in to clean up the mess. Call it karma, call it common sense. Either way, it's a win for Indiana.
Saw a little clip of you on WNBA, you know where I'm going, WNBA All-Star Game.
Oh, this is a good clip, okay? I was like, where is she going with this?
Now, another Indiana Fever player, soon to be teammate, Caitlin Clark, have you heard of her? You happened to have a little interaction with her, and it was said that you were potentially asking her to come to Phoenix.
I totally was.
And maybe the joke was on us, because maybe she was asking you to come to the Fever?
No, maybe I just put an atmosphere and it happened. But how funny is that? Like,
Cunningham has been vocal for months about wanting to play with Caitlin Clark. Unlike some players who see Clark's success and start side-eyeing her like she stole their lunch, Sophie actually gets it. She respects Clark. She knows the future of the league when she sees it. And instead of being bitter, she's ready to ride with greatness. Sophie's been watching Clark light up the WNBA from day one, and instead of jealousy, all she's shown is respect. Because real hoopers know, when you've got a once-in-a-lifetime talent like Caitlin, you don't fight it, you build around it.
But if you're talking strictly hoops, what a fantastic pickup for Indiana. You want to talk about a player that can slot right in with Kelsey Mitchell and with Caitlin Clark on the perimeter and start more than likely in that Lexi Hole spot. The defense that she brings, like the tenacity that she brings, she is the exact type of player that you want next to your two guards who are just so offensive heavy in this way.
The Fever front office finally listened. They realized what fans had been screaming for months. NaLyssa Smith wasn't the future, she was the problem. Her attitude, her hustle, questionable. Her respect for Caitlin Clark, non-existent. There's being competitive, and then there's being disruptive. Smith was the latter. The Fever are building around Clark, and if you can't get with that program, you're getting left behind. NaLyssa Smith? Left behind?
We are free from NaLyssa Smith. NaLyssa Smith no longer on the Indiana Fever. Kelly Krauskopf came in and said, oh, you gotta go.
And Carrington? Please. She's been more famous for her cheap shots and social media clapbacks than anything she's done on the court. Remember when she tried to poke Clark in the eye like it was a WWE match? That wasn't defense. That was desperation. And Smith? She stood by and let it happen. No support, no leadership, just vibes and bad ones at that. It's no wonder Indiana said, pack your bags.
When you went and kind of swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. But no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her. So obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am.
Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham is bringing exactly what this team needed: toughness, grit, and most importantly, respect. She's not just here to play basketball, she's here to build something special with Clark. She understands what it means to uplift a generational talent, not compete with her for attention. That's the mindset of a winner. And Fever fans are already loving it. They're done with the drama, done with the excuses. They want players who are ready to work, ready to win, and ready to ride with Clark to the top.
I am so excited for this. And I just think, honestly, she's just a great human too. She has a lot of pressure and a lot of eyes on her shoulders. And she handles it so gracefully, and she's just a great human. So I'm just excited to be a part of something like that. And she passes the ball, which I enjoy.
NaLyssa Smith's departure from the Fever wasn't exactly met with tears and tributes. There were no heartfelt goodbyes, no emotional Instagram posts, and definitely no team video package highlighting her best moments. Because let's be real, there weren't many. What fans gave instead was a collective sigh of relief, like someone finally opened a window to let the bad air out. It's not that Smith is untalented, it's that she never truly fit into what Indiana was building. Her energy dragged the Fever down, and her lack of respect for Clark was obvious to anyone who paid attention. Whether it was lazy defense or the occasional TikTok skit dissing Clark, Smith made it clear she wasn't all in.
Ow!
Oh, I'm sorry.
You poked me in the eye.
You're 8-year-old.
You did.
I did not poke
Did you do it on purpose?
I did not poke you in the eye.
Did you do it on purpose?
I got him in the knee. That was my reflex.
It looked like you were just laughing.
Fever fans knew it. The front office knew it. Even the players probably felt it. So when the trade announcement dropped, it felt less like losing a player and more like cutting off dead weight. Smith's departure marked the end of that tension-filled era. The message was clear. We're done with the drama. We're here to win. And leading that charge? Sophie Cunningham, the kind of player who actually understands what it means to play team basketball.
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do
Oh
you and do
my
you
God.
and do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
Cunningham is tough, fearless, and unapologetically passionate. She's got that scrappy edge, the kind of player who'll dive for loose balls and then smile while draining a three in your face. The contrast between Sophie Cunningham and NaLyssa Smith is night and day. Sophie is about building something. Smith was about protecting her girlfriend. You need players who are willing to get in the trenches and sacrifice for the team, not players who have conflict of interest. The Fever front office saw it, they acted, and now this team is cooking.
What is that? It might not be from you, but like what is the, I mean, it feels it's not hate, but is it jealousy? Is it envy? Is it just like, what is it?
Yeah, I see both sides. I'm not an extremist in any way.
Yeah.
And so I like to see both sides of each party. I think when you have older people in the league, they work their tails off and they didn't get the recognition. They don't get paid millions of dollars before they even step on the court. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
for them, it's all about, okay, well, what are your stats? What are you doing for the actual game? Like, while you're playing.
Yeah.
And then for them.
But let's not forget about Dijonai Carrington, Smith's ride or die and partner in pettiness. The same Carrington who thought poking Caitlin Clark in the eye was defense and later tried to spin it like she was the victim. Real classy. Well, Smith and Carrington are back together in Dallas, and that locker room might need a therapist on speed dial because this duo is bringing more drama than production. Good luck, Wings. You didn't get a dynamic duo, you got a reality TV show.
NaLyssa Smith is confused as to why Indiana Fever fans don't want her on their team. And it's really not that hard to understand, NaLyssa. Let me tell you why. We don't even need to take into account any of your social media outbursts. We don't need to take into account any of your subtweets. We don't need to take into account any of your drama chasing antics off the court. We don't need to take into account your passive aggressive ways. You're removing the Indiana Fever one day in your bio, adding them in the next day in your bio, tweeting other people's tweets. We don't even need to take into account all the unnecessary drama and garbage that you add to this team when it comes off the court. All we really need to do is sit back and watch you on the court. It's really not that hard of a concept to grasp.
While Dallas braces for impact, Indiana is quietly forming a powerhouse. DeWanna Bonner's arrival is huge. Veteran presence, elite scoring, defensive versatility, and championship experience. She's the type of player who makes others better just by being there. Natasha Howard, defensive anchor, re-signing Kelsey Mitchell, a walking bucket. And now you've got Sophie Cunningham adding that grit and leadership to the mix. And they did all this without giving up Aaliyah Boston, their dominant center, and Lexi Hull, their 3-and-D specialist. Oh, and let's not forget, Caitlin Clark is still Caitlin Clark, the best player in the league and the future of the sport.
This is amazing for women's basketball. This is amazing for women's sports in general. You have so many people, so many new and fresh eyes on our sport that maybe they're a little uneducated and maybe they kind of stir the pot a little bit. And so I get that, but for that class to come in, you have her, you have...
And here's the thing. This roster isn't just about stacking talent. It's about chemistry. That's what makes this offseason so impressive. Every player brought in complements Clark's skill set and the team's vision. Sophie spaces the floor, Bonner is a matchup nightmare, Howard locks down the paint, and Mitchell will torch you from 3. This is a team built to win now. No egos, no sideshows, just basketball.
What does Bonner's addition now mean for the Fever's title potential?
I think the Indiana Fever, with the addition of DeWanna Bonner after already adding Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham, are now in the championship conversation, along with the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, and the Las Vegas Aces.
The Fever don't have that problem anymore. They're focused, united, and hungry. Stephanie White is pulling the strings perfectly, and you can see the vision coming together. This isn't just a team looking to make the playoffs. This is a team ready to make a deep run. And at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark, still the face of the league, still the reason the Fever went from WNBA afterthought to must-watch basketball. The fans feel it too. Indiana is buzzing with excitement. That dark cloud hanging over the franchise? Gone. No more players side-eyeing Clark's success. No more tension between teammates. The Fever are finally moving as one unit, and you can bet that when the season tips off, they'll be ready to prove that all this hype isn't just talk. It's the start of something special.
Sophie Cunningham is not going to put up with the hate and the bullying Caitlin Clark has been receiving throughout the WNBA, because we know last year that was a big target for Caitlin Clark, was to get an enforcer. And like I keep telling y'all, Kelly Cristobal is not messing around, bro.
Let's not forget, Sydney Colson is also in the building. She might not put up 20 points a night, but her leadership and locker room presence are invaluable. She's been part of championship cultures, and her experience will help guide this young team through the pressure that comes with title expectations.
I see it. I'm really trying here not to crash out, okay? I can't take too much more. I just said the other day, what did I say? Another bomb is Sunday. I said, this isn't it. You know, I can't wait to see what the next bomb would be. Didn't know this would be the bomb. Stephanie White ain't playing fair. I have to say it again. Stephanie White is not playing fair. She on one.
The Fever are built differently now. They've got talent, leadership, and a culture that's finally aligned. And when you put all that around Caitlin Clark, the most electric player in women's basketball, you're not just building a playoff team. You're building a championship contender. So while NaLyssa Smith updates her Instagram bio and Carrington plots her next unnecessary foul, Indiana is getting ready to make some noise. And you better believe Sophie Cunningham is leading that charge, because she didn't come here to babysit egos. She came to win. And with Caitlin Clark by her side, that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, let's see who's still talking when that championship parade rolls through Indiana.
I forgot to mention NaLyssa Smith is gone. If you're the Fever, how great do you feel about that? My goodness. Like, finally.
Indiana fans no longer have to suffer through watching a player coast through games with zero passion, drifting up and down the court like they're just waiting for the post-game selfie. Those days are over. Now, this Fever roster is built with winners. Players who respect the game, respect their teammates, and most importantly, respect the fans. This is a team that's here to deliver results, not attitude. The Fever are back, and they're stronger than ever. The future? Oh, it's glowing. The championship window? Wide open. And it all started by cutting the dead weight and adding players who actually care.
I got frustrated watching her play, and she represented, I think, the remnants of anything else that was wrong with the team, right? From the Christie sides era and everything. And last year was a good year, all things considered. Wish her the best. But I actually think the Fever get great return here, considering I don't know where all these people think NaLyssa Smith's value was so high all of a sudden, given the way she played. And
let's not sugarcoat it. NaLyssa Smith wasn't just an underperformer. She was a symbol of everything wrong with the old Fever culture. She was a former number 2 overall pick and supposed to be a cornerstone, a building block for the future. Instead, she turned into a player who offered glimpses of potential but never made it stick. There were flashes, sure, but consistency, leadership, defensive grit, non-existent. And when it came time to rally around the biggest star the franchise had seen in years, Caitlin Clark, Smith showed where her priorities were, and they weren't with the team.
She goes to the wings, gets a fresh start. Hopefully that works out for her. Arike Ogunbowale has already welcomed NaLyssa Smith there. So that's part of this trade also. So you get these, a lot of moving parts here, because that's something a lot of people had anticipated and thought that the Fever were going to move on from Smith. And when Howard came in, it felt like, okay, Howard is taking her spot. And now Smith is no longer there to have a spot in the starting lineup or off the bench.
That's why when she was shipped off to Dallas, Fever fans didn't just nod in agreement. They celebrated like they had just won a playoff series. No farewell posts, no emotional tributes, just a collective, thank you next. And now, over in Dallas, Smith is already realizing she's not about to be their franchise savior either. The Wings have been loading up on talent, and Smith is fading into the background faster than her impact ever did in Indiana. You can already see the writing on the wall. Her role is shrinking, and her days of being treated like a future star are slipping away. She's on borrowed time, and soon Dallas is going to realize what Indiana already knew. Smith isn't built for a team chasing greatness. But Indiana? They're done with mediocrity. This franchise is done hoping that potential will turn into production. They're ready to win. And this offseason, it proved that. This front office, led by Kelly Krauskopf, Amber Cox, and Stephanie White, has been absolutely cooking. They kept their core intact. Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, they're still there. But the Fever didn't stop at stability. They went for firepower.
Too, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, and I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing. When it comes to viewership, man, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. And if you have really anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not capitalizing on it, and you might be a little jealous. So for me, I'm all for it. I'm about it. I love all this stuff.
Bringing in DeWanna Bonner? That's a championship-level move. She's not just a veteran presence, she's a proven winner. She's the kind of player who walks into a locker room and demands respect because her resume speaks for itself. You think someone like Bonner is here for mediocrity? No, she's here to win, and she made that clear from day one. Her combination of scoring, defense, and leadership is exactly what this team needed.
In DeWanna Bonner, the Indiana Fever have signed one of the all-time greats who brings major big game experience to Indiana along with her. Bonner is a two-time WNBA champion and quite literally the most experienced postseason player ever. Her 87 playoff games are more than any player in WNBA history.
Then there's Natasha Howard, another elite defender, another champion, another player who understands that winning isn't an option, it's an expectation.
It's going to be Caitlin Clark flash show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision on the court, because that's like as soon as she get the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.
But the biggest culture shift? Sophie Cunningham. Because Sophie is here to defend Caitlin Clark, both literally and figuratively. She's here to put the bullies on notice. Chennedy Carter, Angel Reese, and every other player who thought they could take cheap shots at Clark without consequence. Those days are over. Sophie's not having it. She's the enforcer. She's the one who's going to let people know that if you put your hands on Caitlin Clark, you're going to answer to her.
And Sophie Cunningham still spaces the floor. They added so much floor spacing in this free agency with Sophie and with Natasha. Like, the amount of room that Aaliyah Boston is going to have to operate for Indiana is absolutely insane.
And let's not overlook what she brings on the offensive end. Cunningham's three-point shooting is going to open up the floor in ways we haven't seen yet. Defenses won't be able to collapse on Clark anymore because if they do, Sophie's waiting in the corner and she's got that flamethrower ready. And when Clark gets double-teamed at the perimeter, Cunningham's spacing is going to give Clark lanes to either drive or hit those signature logo threes. This is the kind of balance and versatility that championship teams are made of. Let's also talk about Sydney Colson, the glue player who came in not just to provide depth but to inject life into that locker room. She's a veteran who knows what it takes to keep the chemistry strong, and she's someone who will back Clark up the second any nonsense starts on the court. Colson's got the jokes, sure, but when it's game time, she's locked in. And that locker room chemistry, it matters.
I'm excited for Sydney Colson and I'm excited for the Indiana Fever because they have an amazing player who is also very hilarious, like one of the funniest people in the league. So really excited to see
said,
this.
imagine the content between Sydney and Caitlin. It's going to be comedy.
Content for days. I know the Indiana Fever front office is just celebrating because that is a part of it too, is content and having players that are going to be good at that. So come on, Sydney.
And Caitlin Clark? She's already changed the league before her second season has even started. She's bringing the eyes, the viewership, the money, and now she's got the team to back it all up. Clark is walking into this season not just as the most popular player, but as a player with a legitimate shot at an MVP and a title. That's how serious this Fever team is. So, to everyone who thought the Fever were just going to be a fun, young team to watch develop, wake up. That's not what's happening here. This is a title contender. This is a team that's built to make noise, and they've got the right mix of youth, experience, and edge to do it. Cunningham didn't just join the Fever, she joined a movement. And every player who thought they could bully Caitlin Clark last year? You've been warned. Sophie's got her back now. This is the new Indiana Fever, and they're coming for everything. Are you excited? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.